One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It's interesting to think that what we're going to do today is 100 times more complex than the coding they were using back then. And then also to think that the technology that we're using with our fingertips is 1 billion times more complex than what they were using back there to get to the moon. Impressive, isn't it? Let's have a look today at the rest of OOP, where we're going to go through the basics, but we're also going to go through aggregation today. Let's have a look. Okay, so let's create our class, which is our blueprint for our object. I'm going to call this one Astro. If this is your first time joining us, do not worry, people. I'm going to go through the basics as well, so you can follow along, and this is one of the basics activities. I'm not going to go through inheritance today, though, so potentially what might be worth it is going through one of the older videos, which was last week. So have a look and see if you can find the inheritance one. This is our constructor, if you've forgotten, and in the constructor I need to initialize the attributes, the properties that I want. So this is on creation. What I need to do is I'm going to set name. So I'm going to put in name like that. I'm also going to put self, and if I put age, and then I'll just put 0 in there. So I'll initialize that one, but we'll use a setter to set that later on. Now remember, the constructor method is the most important method because without this we cannot instantiate, which is a fancy word for create the object. So we put that in there like that. And then what one of the methods is that we're going to do is we're going to go for our getters. Now we're going to go get name, bracket, and you always put self in here. What the getter allows us to do is the getter allows us to see the attribute that we're referring to. And in this case, all I want to do is I just want to see the name. So I'm going to put self.name in there. And then I'm going to do the same one for age. Now, again, if this is your first time having a look at OOP, you're probably thinking to yourself, this is really confusing. We have to use the getters to see what the attributes are, because what happens in OOP is there's this thing called data hiding. Data hiding is where it's not easy to see or change the values in the object. So what we have to do is, one of the first things is create getters to see them and then setters to change them or initialize them. So that is how you create a getter. If you're just doing a lesson, if you're just doing a lesson because you want to learn about OOP, great. Have a little play around with this. Just copy along with me. If you're doing this because you're doing A-level computer science, getters, it's like how to write a getter for a particular attribute comes up all the time as a question. So what I would say is just memorize the format of that: self, return, self.name, and then we're going to look at how to actually use it. Let's put the setter in there as well. Set age. We're going to put self, and then we're going to also put the attribute in there as well. So that's the format. So for any setter, you put that in there. And we're going to do self.age equals age. So that's those getters, setters, constructor up there. Now, kind of going along with the basics, what we're going to do now is we're going to instantiate. Remember, that is just a fancy word for create an object. So if we put Astro, I was meant to put astronaut, but I'll just put Astro. So Astro1 equals Astro. So you put the class name, bracket, and then we're just going to put the name in there, Josh. So we're only going to put one in there. Self is a little bit of a complicated concept because what that allows it to do, don't worry too much if this doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're just learning from the start, just remember to put self in there. But the reason that we have self is because it's referring to the object that we've created. So you might have like Astro 1, Astro 2, and what the self part is that it's referring to itself, so that it makes sure that it doesn't get mixed up with the other objects in there. And then if I wanted to use the different getters, so I'll use the setter to start with so that you can see that it's worked. So astro1 dot, you set age, and then you can just put in whatever age you want. So let's put 10, and then we'll go for print, then we're going to go for astro1 dot get age, and then just so that you can actually see those work. So it should output 10. There we go. So that's all good. So just so that you can see what we've got going on here: constructor, getter, setter, instantiating an object, creating an object, using the setter, and then using a getter. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at aggregation. Aggregation is the idea where we create a relationship between two classes, but it's not as strong as a superclass and a subclass, which was in inheritance, which we looked at last lesson. We're just creating a relationship, and we may not want it to inherit all of the different attributes and methods from the other, but we still want there to be a relationship. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a class for a ship. So we're going to do class, ship, and the difference from inheritance is that we don't need to put the brackets next to that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to initialize this, so we just do exactly the same, use a constructor. We can put some values in here, so we're going to put self, maybe we could put the number of the ship, and we could also put the type of ship. And then we just do self number equals number, and then we do self dot type equals type. Now, once we've done that, we can use a getter, so get ship name, and then what we can do is put self in there, and it's just a standard getter where we're going to do return, and then we'll do return, not ship name, we'll do return ship type. Return, and then we're going to do self.type. So that returns that value there for us. So that's all set up. So we've got our class set up there. I've put that up there. Okay, so now what we need to do is aggregate the link between the two of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put self and then the class name, which is ship. So we're going to put that so for the object, and then we're going to put none in there because there isn't anything in there currently. We're then going to put def set ship self ship. Exactly the same as a setter, so self.ship equals ship. And then what we need to do is then we're going to use the getter. And we're going to aggregate another link here, which is going to be to do, so if I put get ship here, and then what I do is I'm going to, in those brackets, always remember with your getters, put self, and then we're going to put return, and then I'm actually going to use this method, so I'm going to put get ship, actually I need to put self, because I need to refer to the object, so it's going to be self.ship, which is up here, right? So how you spell that, and then you're going to do dot, and then the method type, and then what that'll do will be allow us to get the type from here. Don't worry that that's underlined, that'll be underlined. So now let's scroll down here. And then finally, let's see all of this working so that we can make sure that we've actually created the link and it's all works. So we're going to create another object, which is going to be ship1 dot, and then, actually no, ship1 equals ship, call the class, and then we're going to go make up a number for the number, and then we're going to put a type. So we'll put rocket. So I'll put that in there like that. Okay, and then what we need to do is create the link between them. So I'm going to do astro1 dot, and then I'm going to do set ship, because that one there is going to be, is for that one. So I'm going to put ship1. And then finally, so for us to know that this has actually worked, what we're going to do is put print, and then if we do astro1 dot get ship, what that will do is that will run this, which will then in turn go to here and then run up there, so that we've got the type. So it should output rocket, which it has done. I hope you found that useful, people. I'm going to put a link to another suggested video, so hopefully that you can get even more value. Also in the description, I'm going to put links to our community pages, which have got tons of videos, tons of extra exam questions. Have a look, maybe you can get some use out of it.